Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I got a letter from a subscriber, an extremely difficult situation. He wrote along. I mean, this man obviously really needs someone to talk to. I always know this when I get a very long email from someone and they tell all kinds of information, which is just trying to get to a point where they actually feel that they've been heard, and I've been there myself. Okay, but anyway, I can say that this is Mike, and he is living in America. Okay, he is American, and the story goes back to a long time ago. The man is 60. Right, so the story goes back, you can work out the number of years, and he had neighbours which were fairly close, and one of the neighbours' family was a young girl, and back then she was 6 years old. Well, our friend Mike went into the army and spent quite a number of years in the army, being away, and when he came back, this 6-year-old girl had blossomed into a young woman, and so they dated for a number of months, or however long it took, until finally they decided to get married. And he actually says in his email that he felt that on both of their parts it was a way to get away from home. They were living in a familiar situation where the man was 29 years old, but he was required to live by very strict parental rules. They told him what to do with his money. He had to put a third into paying for his way, which is absolutely right. Then they insisted that he put a third into a bank account, and then a third he had to do whatever he wanted. It was his bank account, by the way. Okay, so both of these people, the man and the woman, were from strict Roman Catholic upbringing, and well, they got together and they got married, and they at first, as most people, they were very intimate, enjoyed a good married life, is the impression I get. And the woman later started to become a little distant on this. Now, I should also fill in a very important detail in this story, which is quite complex, and that is that the wife had a disabled brother. Now, at the time of writing, the disabled brother is now living with them, and he's 59. Our correspondent, our author of the letter, is 60. But the 59-year-old has the mind of a 10-year-old, if that. So it's a very tough situation. Now, why is he living with them? Well, when they started to get married, it was evident that this disabled man was being taken care of by the mother. The father had already passed. There were other siblings, but not anyone that the mother could trust to take care of the disabled man. So it almost came as a condition for getting married. He was asked to promise that when the mother died, he would take care of the disabled man. The brother would come to live with them, and they would take care of him. And he made that promise, and he has since said, I am bound by this promise, even though the mother is long gone and things have changed a lot. Because what's happening now is, as the man gets further on in his disability, he is making mistakes, and they have a gas cooker in the house, and at one point he left the cooker on, which burned whatever was in there with the fire and so on. But another one which was even more dangerous was that while he was doing one of his little chores that was entrusted to him, he bumped against the gas stove and actually turned the gas on enough to leak, but not enough to ignite. So it wasn't just a flame burning away, it was gas. Now fortunately our author could smell the gas. Unusual. In England they have a North Sea gas which is made up in such a way as it doesn't have any odour. Not such a good idea. But anyway, he recognised the smell and got over there quickly enough. But now it's established a fear that something could happen and this man could burn the house down. Now, in among all of this, the relations between our man and his wife have deteriorated, not so much from a viewpoint of always arguing and it's stormy and all of that. They're both bound by their promises of marriage, by their strong Catholic upbringing. Both of their parents, of the wife and of the husband, were both married between 45 and 50 years or more, very long, and they were bound by their Catholic rules and vows. So both our man and his wife feel the same thing, and it's not something that they're going to do. Although there is one strange little aspect, that the man was so tired that he thought, so tired of no sex, let's say it like it is, that he suggested that maybe she should go out and try it with somebody else to see if it's just him that's lacking, which she refused. But been hijacked again. He's got one issue of what to do about this man that's living with them, who may threaten them with an early ascent to heaven by way of a gas stove, and then the lack of intimacy with his wife, which he still wants to have. Now, he's suggested to her that they go for counselling. She said that she doesn't need to. She's gone through menopause. He said they rarely argue. Kind of sounds to me like almost like a brother and sister arrangement now, in that's what they go through. They're not arguing, but there's no sex in the marriage, and this is an important part of the marriage and needs to be addressed. And my wife has gone all embarrassed now and is hiding behind my shoulder. So what to do is the thing, and this letter is more a cry not for help, but for just needing someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And because if on the first part of the problem he decides that the disabled man must go into a facility, and this inevitably will happen because neither are trained to handle the kind of thing that will happen. He's been like this since birth. They are not going to be able to handle this. It's not like he's been a normal, healthy, accomplished or talented even man who has the onset of Alzheimer's. That's not the way. This is something where he's never been completely right, and they're now taking all of this, and that may well be, Mike, it may well be the reason for why there is so much opposition to getting help with the idea of resuming intimacy. I'm a firm believer of, if it was good once, it can be good again. If it was good, and you say that it was good. Now, you also say that it was almost like a marriage of convenience, so that's a little contradictory. But you do say that you enjoyed, for a few years, you enjoyed a very intimate relationship. Now, I'm guessing that part was when the brother didn't live with you. So you were able to enjoy a relationship which was full. And you didn't have to worry about someone else being in the house. Now this may be the key to what your problem is. Because women, I've never met a woman yet who was comfortable. Many have worked it out and have come to terms with it. But lots of women won't have sex if their mother is in the house. And definitely if someone might possibly be listening in, well, you've got somebody with the mind of a 10-year-old. He could be outside the door giggling and wondering what you're doing in there. So I almost understand why your wife is like that. So that's something that you might have to address before you can get any joy on the intimacy problem. But certainly by looking at different ways, you may be able to turn this around. You won't be able to turn it around by getting your wife to change. And I always come back to this as a personal opinion, is that getting somebody else to change in the hope that everything will be all right and you'll be just the same good old self-righteous person that you always were, doing everything right, that doesn't usually work out. The only way to really do it is to take all the responsibility, and then you can do everything that's needed in order to bring things back as they were. So by taking full responsibility for whatever the lack of intimacy is, then you have a chance of doing something. If you're expecting the other person to do something, what can you do? You're going to give them books to read, watch movies. Are you going to get someone else to listen to her problems with the idea that everything will be all right? I'm sure that with two people who are totally willing to go to a counsellor, you have a chance of having some result on that. But in the end, it still comes back to the two of you looking at each other when you go to bed. So you changing the way that you are, changing the way that you approach things, the way that you make love, the way that you try to make the thing happen, that may all come down to courting again, seduction, and all of those things that we think, well, we shouldn't have to do that. We've been married for 48 years. Well, that may be true, and you may be right. But we're looking now at what is workable. So you really need to look at the intimacy thing again with you as the one who can do something. So you have to educate yourself. You have to change. You have to do things in a way which will help her to feel different. So you're approaching things intellectually, but you will be seeking to have emotional, heart-centered things happen. Also, she is, let me see, I think that she was, if you were 60, I believe that she would probably be about 45 now. She went through menopause early, and that took about 5 years, you said. So she's already at that point, if she's gone through menopause, that many women think it's okay to not have any sex anymore. When my mother, my own mother, had a child, she had my young brother at the age of 43, which back in those days was a deep source of shame for her. She actually, when she was pregnant, used to walk back streets so that no one would see her. Now, it may be that you have got the same thing happening. So, you got to go back and It's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It didn't get to this point in 5 minutes. It's not a movie. You're not going to pull it all around in an hour and 40. You're going to have to work very hard, and you're going to have to go absolutely back to the beginnings, the holding hands, kissing on the cheek, and then later on the mouth, and holding, and all of those things that you do if you were courting a strict Catholic girl.
Yeah,
You have to do it all again.
I didn't listen the whole story, but I think the best thing for that is communication, right? Open communications between the two partners and resolve it. Because the the relationship will work out if the two of you will work out to resolve the problem, right?
Well, an oversimplification, but yes,
Yeah.
that's true. You need to talk about it.
Yeah.
But,
Although it's a little bit awkward, the topic, that's why I did.
yeah, and the other thing is as well that you can't always do what I call the post-mortem method. The post-mortem method is where you lay the body, the problem, you lay it out on the slab, and then you pick it apart. Well, when you did this, I did that, and you said this, and I, yes, well, you said that, but I said this, and that's the post-mortem method. You may get somewhere with that if you really are both clinically minded and analytical enough to be able to say, this is the problem, it's separate from us, lay it out on the slab, and we'll have an autopsy. Good luck with that one. It will work as long as you are both up to doing it without recrimination. You've got to be at the point of understanding, and it's a very difficult process, but that's one of your choices. The other choice is just to start from today and bring her some flowers.
Yeah. What do you call that, darling? Like boyfriend and girlfriend start courting each other.
Yeah. Which is what I just said, isn't it? So you need to start from the beginning, and somehow it may help to know that you're starting from the beginning. If you don't know where the hell you are, then how can you know where to go? It's like being dropped down in the middle of a strange city and being told to go from A to B, and you don't know where A is. So how can you get to B? So in establishing where you say, this is where I am, this is where I'm going from, and point 0 is the best place to start. So if this were a completely different person who you were interested in, what would you do? Would you just call her up and say, hi, I just wanted to ask how you are, and okay, that was all, as long as you're okay. And then you ring off, and you do that the next day. And then maybe you might suggest that you go to the movies, find out a movie that she likes and take her there. To do those things which you would do right at the beginning, and do them happily, and don't do them analytically explaining everything. Well, honey, I thought that as we're not getting on very well, and I feel like going and putting a gun to my head and trying for the second bullet, I thought that we could see if we can rekindle something here. So we'll go in and this is what we'll do, and we'll act as if... No, just do it. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't be analytical like that with this new girl. You wouldn't do that. So don't do it now. Just go and try to have a fun evening. And that may be the first thing that you do. Go and learn something about massage and give her a massage. All of these things matter. This is where you are doing something for her without return. without return. In other words, you're going to give her a full body massage, and then you're going to let her go quietly to sleep. You're not going to jump her bones. Okay? Well, I gave you a massage, why can't you do one for me? No, that's not going to work. I wish you well, and please, you can always write to me again if it will help. I'm only giving you my opinion after all. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Good luck, Mike. We all wish you well. And lots of people might, if our comments are enabled by the time that this goes up, there's always a chance that someone who is a lot cleverer than I am may come up with something that will help you. Bye for now.